In the story of Berserk, the world is run and operated by evil gods and malignant forces that people can make sacrifices to gain power and influence. And the sacrifices that they make only work if they're sacrificing another human being whom they have a bond with. They have a bond of love and trust established with, and they can sacrifice that to the forces of evil to gain some type of personal gain. And this is what happens to the main character, whose name is Guts, which is kind of a stupid name, but it's synonymous with courage, conviction, fortitude, heart, balls, spine, all that type of thing, which is important to have if you're going to encounter a malignant person and live in a kind of evil world. You need to have these aspects. But Berserk is a story that has a lot of symbolic parallels to real life. And I'm going to explain how here. So in the story of Berserk, there's a lot of different characters and a lot of plot points, but the main thing is that the story follows the main character Guts, and he establishes a close personal bond with a best friend whom sacrifices their friendship and everything that they went through to these evil gods for personal gain. And Guts, the character, is branded, physically branded, like you would brand a cow, and he is abandoned and left to wander the earth as this kind of wounded, betrayed person. And the effect of the brand, what that does is it's kind of like a portal to hell. It's kind of keeping him trapped with one foot in the real world and one foot in the supernatural. What the brand does, it's a magnet to evil. So all of the bad guys, all of the monsters are constantly hunting him down to try to devour him, because he was sacrificed in this kind of horrific, almost like a horror movie, this satanic looking sacrificial ritual thing where the rest of his group was eaten by monsters and he just barely escaped. And that's what the brand does. And the closer he is to evil entities physically by this brand, kind of like Lord of the Rings, how they use that one sword, I forget what it's called, but it kind of like glows blue, and that's their kind of indicator that evil is nearby. That's his indication that evil is getting close to him, is that it causes him physical pain. On top of that brand, the act of betrayal itself, of coming to terms with the fact that he really trusted somebody like a brother who took that trust and took that love and gave it away to these kind of evil forces to turn into I guess he turned into a monster himself. And what that did to the main character Guts is it really filled his heart with a lot of pain. There was a couple of chapters that showed the effects of that, the fallout of that incident, where there was a lot of inner turmoil, a lot of toxic emotions kind of brewing inside of his heart and soul, a lot of anger and rage and self-hate and fear, and an obsession to right a wrong, to correct an injustice, to get back at the person who did this to him. Unfortunately, the person who did that to him disappeared after the act of betrayal. So the finding justice for having been wronged so severely isn't really a possibility after the fact. He's just kind of left to cope and to deal with it. And this really forms a severe amalgamation of toxic emotions that kind of eat away at him. He becomes kind of a nasty person for a couple of chapters in the story. If you read it, he gets a real nasty chip on his shoulder. He wasn't really a bad guy before, but he becomes really, he lashes out at people even if they're nice to him. That type of thing, because of the trauma that he went through. He gradually comes to terms with it, and that chip on his shoulder is kind of evened out gradually as the story progresses. So that's kind of a hopeful thing. But the damage has been done, and the scar has been kind of left, and the imprint has been left on him from being betrayed, by a loved one. But not only being betrayed, but on purpose. It's a malignant act, and I say malignant in that sense was that somebody hurt him on purpose and derided some sadistic gratification from it. Now this parallels real life, because in real life there are malignant people out there, and there are people who will hurt you, me, you know, people in general, on purpose, and not even necessarily for some kind of an ulterior motive or personal gain, just out of kicks, just out of this kind of cruelty. And the effects of this, if this happens to an individual who they love and trust, so either a romantic partner, someone who they're intimate with, a sibling, a relative, a close friend, or a parental figure who willfully and malignantly betrays them for just out of cruelty, out of just regular cruelty and spite. Or if there is something to be gained, it's something petty and small. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe they stole money from you or something like that. They took a close friendship and they threw it away to steal some small amount of cash. Something like that. The fallout of that is very similar to what Guts went through personally. And also, it is similar to getting branded, just like Guts on his neck. It is similar to walking the earth as a betrayed, hurt person, carrying around a painful mark that attracts evil. Now, let me explain, let me kind of elaborate on that idea. So, Guts was branded physically by the Eclipse. Now, if you're encountering a malignant person who betrayed you on purpose, that is kind of like your own little personal eclipse. That is like its own little type of satanic ritual in a sense, that somebody's taking something good and throwing it away for something evil. And this leaves a person branded in their heart, not physically, hopefully. I certainly hope, you know, people aren't getting branded. That's not a very nice thought. But I'm talking about symbolically. They're carrying around pain inside of themselves from that act, but it shows up and manifests in physical ways, in tone of voice, in body language, in all kinds of nonverbal cues, and posture and poise and that kind of a thing. And your people will see that. They'll see that you are in pain if you've been through that, and without necessarily seeing it in a conscious sense, in the kind of the forefront of their mind, it's they're picking up on it just sort of offhandedly. And what that will do is, if you're walking around, you know, hurt and betrayed and wound up and agitated, predatory individuals will target you. Now, I mean predatory individuals, like there's thieves and there's criminals and there's dangerous folks out there, and they select their targets based on their capacity to get away with it. They hedge their bets. So if a person looks, they're kind of beaten down by life, if they look physically weak, if they look like maybe they don't have a lot of friends or people backing them up, that person is more likely, more inclined to get targeted by criminals. Now this applies to dangerous criminals, but it also applies to a more kind of more common garden variety type of evil. there are little passive-aggressive instigators, little nasty people who don't necessarily want to steal or do anything like dangerous, don't want to engage in acts of violence, but what they will do is see those wounds that you're carrying around, see the agitation, see the pain on your face and in your eyes, see the kind of burden that you're carrying, you know, in your heart, and they will try to, in their own little way, their own passive-aggressive, cowardly little way, try to reopen those wounds in any way they can. Will kind of buzz around you and be a pestering nuisance. And this can happen in a workplace environment with toxic coworkers or a toxic boss. This can happen in a school environment with bullying classmates or even bullying teachers, or it can happen in a family environment with just bad, disloyal family members and relatives, in a variety of different ways, you know. So if you see somebody's in pain and you're a malignant type, you know, you're going to pick somebody who's already hurt because your work's cut out for you. In its own gross, ugly sense, it's rational, you know. So just like Berserk, just like Guts, how he was branded and sacrificed and has to, you know, walk the earth as this wounded person being hunted by evil. Somebody who's been hurt that severely, who's been gutted that severely, is now carrying around wounds that are attracting, you know, probably not only criminals. I mean, I shouldn't speak too much about that because that's like a matter of like self-defense and stuff like that. So I'm really more focusing on just plain toxic people, just plain agitators, and that kind of thing, are going to be coming after you to try to insult, agitate, provoke, rile you up, do what they can. And this can be dysregulating. It can be if you're trying to kind of focus on what you're doing, or if you're trying to, like at school, if you're trying to like make friends or something like that, and like a nasty person can see, oh, you're kind of hurt, I can come and agitate you further. Or let's say it's a family situation and you're trying to have a pleasant gathering, you know, a malignant individual might sour the occasion or spoil the mood by bringing up something unpleasant that happened in the past or something like that, and just kind of ruin it for you, because they can see that it's going to hurt you, you know, that much more because you've already been hurt. That type of thing. A lot of similarities, a lot of parallels, but let's focus on now the silver lining. I don't want to just drop a bunch of doom and gloom and then kind of peace out. That wouldn't be fair. The silver lining to this is that, so we'll start with Guts, because he now has to live branded. He has to walk around and fight monsters till the end of his days. This incentivizes him to be really strong, to really kind of have his stuff in check, to be, you know, tactically minded, and to be like a superior. It propels him into being able to fight off these things. And as the story progresses, he finds a variety of different weapons and utilities, and an armor, a type of armor that helps him along his way. You know, he finds different skill sets and different ways and means of being able to do battle with the forces of evil that are always hounding him, right? And just like in real life, if you're hurt, if you're always being kind of attacked by nasty types of people, this incentivizes an individual to be superior. Living a normal, neurotypical, I guess, life is now off the table. It's no longer a possibility. So that really pushes a person to have to take care of themselves, take care of their physical health, of their mental health, to be making sure that they are developing themselves, to really double down on self-development and self-improvement. Sorry, Zod looks really cool. Like a barbarian warrior type of thing. And to really kind of like try to be their best selves, the best version of themselves. Because if they're not, they're going to get overwhelmed by all the nastiness that's happening in their life. And what's going to happen as an end result of that is they're going to get bullied and harassed into self-harm, but self-harm on a permanent capacity, if you know what I mean. I don't want to say the word. Or they're going to resort to drug use and alcohol abuse as a means of coping with the kind of agitation and the constant pain as a kind of short-term solution. Or they're just going to live a depressing crap life where they don't really try to go after their goals, don't even make goals until they're kind of out of time. You know, it's a that's what's going to happen if they don't really double down on imposing their will on the world. So in a sense, if you're in this type of a situation, you can find yourself being grateful for all the bad, nasty, ugly things that happen, because if it weren't for those bad, nasty, ugly things and those nasty people, you might not have, you know, worked out as intensely or studied maybe different philosophies and principles and cultures and that kind of a thing. So there's certainly a silver lining to that. But I think a lot of lives are kind of ruined by this type of thing in the aforementioned ways. And it's a real shame, it's a real tragedy to let a malignant person kind of take something valuable and throw it away for small, petty reasons. And it really is always small, petty reasons. There's never some kind of a highbrow, high-handed, ulterior motive. Oh, I lost. I was close, though. It's always, you know, they're not malignant types like predatory people. They're not Machiavellian, or they're very seldom Machiavellian. They're a-holes. This kind of evil that I'm describing, it's not out of some kind of a plan or anything like that. It's due to usually the person in question being a low life, being stupid, and having low impulse control. So they're just kind of a lousy product of a lousy environment. And as a result, you know, they're this kind of nasty individual out to hurt people. And it's frustrating because this type of person can have the appearance of being decent. You know, maybe they mow their lawn and pay their taxes. But the thing that they're kind of hiding is that they have targets who they're seeking out to give a hard time to hassle, harass, antagonize, and the like. Even if it's their own family or friends or church members or members of their bird watching club. I don't know, whatever setting there is. All right. If I missed anything, if I missed anything important about the story that relates to this topic, feel free to drop that in the comments section. You know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're listening to this video and you're like, what are you on about, bro? Consider yourself lucky, because, you know, it's kind of a nasty subject matter. But if this does resonate with you, feel free to say how and, you know, come up with your own examples and let me know if I missed anything important. I'm kind of getting my butt kicked here by Zod. I can't really focus and talk at the same time. I'm trying to walk and chew gum at the same time here. Use a power attack. All right, guys. So if I can think of anything more pertinent to this topic, I'll probably end up making a part 2 of this video. I'm gonna try to make this a whole series, like what I learned from, you know, X game, because I think that like meaning and purpose can be kind of derived from works of fiction. I think it's the same as like the ancient Greek hero myths and that kind of a thing. People take these, they dramatize their own sort of problems and ups and downs, and they apply them to their own life. Because I think that helps. I think every culture does this. And I think in the modern world, we can do this with pop culture, with comics, movies, and even video games. I think this, if you do it right, I think this can be a net positive for everyone involved. Okay, guys, so with that being said, I will see you next time.